GitLab is the faster path from idea to software. It's more than a code repository. It's one workflow that brings development, security, and operations teams together. No walls, no endless feedback loops. Use GitLab end-to-end or integrate it with the tools you love. And it lets you eliminate the rest to help reduce costs and boost productivity at the same time without trade-offs. With GitLab, teams can build software faster, automate software delivery, shorten cycle times, and increase developer productivity. And security is built in, not bolted on. Scan for vulnerabilities with every code push, automatically. It's the entire development process, all in the same place where everyone works. Because we're on this path together. The path from idea to collaboration to higher performing teams. With one comprehensive, innovation-driving, fast and secure DevSecOps platform. Software faster. GitLab.
Hi, folks. Thanks for joining us today for this customer success webinar aimed at unlocking GitLab Duo Pro. While we wait for a few more people to show up, I'll play this great little video that provides an overview of some of the features we'll be exploring in more detail later today. It's a short little video.
You're a developer working on a mission-critical customer-facing app. Here's how GitLab Duo acts as your AI assistant through the whole software development lifecycle. Instead of wading through weeks of comments, GitLab Duo summarizes technical needs and infrastructure requirements, instantly generating a to-do list. And all it takes is one click for you to transform your notes into detailed issue descriptions. Now, it's time to start coding. Let's say the task in your first issue is developing a new feature, which requires adding a new method to the existing Java app. You open the web IDE and describe the task, and GitLab Duo instantly generates the method. You can focus on the core business logic, while Duo handles syntax and boilerplate code. As you work, Duo crafts contextual suggestions to fill in the gaps, speeding up the process. When a vulnerability is detected, GitLab Duo instantly provides a summary and suggests how to fix it. It even generates a merge request that resolves the vulnerability with a detailed description and the actual code. You don't need to be a Go expert to integrate a feature developed by another team written in Go, because with GitLab Duo, the context you need is at your fingertips. It provides clear code explanations for seamless integration. And if you have questions, Duo Chat is there for in-depth help. It's available platform-wide, so you can use its knowledge base to dig deeper. Merge request time. Oh, you've hit a challenge. Your pipeline build fails. What once required looking through hundreds of log lines is now solved with a click. Using GitLab Duo's root cause analysis. Problem identified. Fix suggested. Problem solved. Now you're ready for code review. Select from a list of recommended reviewers based on their expertise and availability. Your tasks are complete, efficiently and successfully, thanks to GitLab Duo. It doesn't stop at coding. With automated test generation, you can catch bugs early. And with the AI Impact Dashboard, you can measure AI's impact in real time. GitLab Duo demonstrates what can be achieved when AI is incorporated throughout the software development lifecycle. Make this a reality and leverage the most comprehensive AI-driven DevSecOps platform for faster, more secure software development.
All right. So I think that's just super exciting stuff to me. So anyway, my name's Omar. I've been with GitLab for about 3 years now. I'm based up in Montreal, Canada. I've been passionate about AI since way before it got popular, so much so, in fact, that I decided to use an AI-generated background today. I think AI will be transformative, and that the people and organizations who will do best through this transformation are those who leverage it to accomplish more and do better with it. I'm particularly excited to work at a company that is iterating so rapidly around AI. So first, I'd like to cover some housekeeping notes before we proceed. The slides that I'm running through today and the recording of this session will be sent to all of you registrants in a follow-up email. If you have questions during the presentation, please use the Q&A tab you'll see in your Zoom bar. We have team members standing by to answer those. Also, while a lot of the information that follows is related to generally available features, I should share the following caveat. This presentation and linked pages contain information related to upcoming products, features, and functionality. It is important to note that the information presented is for informational purposes only. Please do not rely on this information for purchasing or planning purposes. As with all projects, the items mentioned in this presentation and linked pages are subject to change or delay. The development, release, and timing of any product, features, or functionality remain at the sole discretion of GitLab Inc. All right, now that that's done, let's cover what we're going to do today. The main goal of this call is to help you get started using GitLab Duo Pro features. As a result, this webinar is primarily aimed at users who have already purchased Duo Pro seats, but really, this is not limited to developers and should also be interesting to any of you who would like to better understand our AI offering, and how it can increase your efficiency and efficacy. So we'll cover why you should care about GitLab Duo Pro, assigning seats, how to access and use the features in GitLab Duo Pro, and suggested next steps. As already mentioned, the focus of this presentation is on enabling existing customers to activate and use our AI-powered features. But if you don't already have access to GitLab Duo, you can request a trial. The link and instructions are pretty easy to find, but are provided here and will be sent to you in our follow-up correspondence. You can also register for one of our hands-on labs, wherein we'll provision a full featured environment for a couple of days that you can experiment with. Or finally, by contacting your account team to purchase seats, as seen on the next slide. This slide. As a side note, if you're watching this prior to October 15th and are an Ultimate customer, you'll be able to take advantage of some really cool offers to test drive our enterprise features. So why should you care? This might seem like a weird question to ask at the beginning of an enablement session, but it's a valid question that is particularly relevant for the non-developers among you. When we move on to the next slide, we'll see that the problem is that AI tends to be seen as relating to code and thus the domain of developers. First, we know from our DevSecOps study that even developers only spend 21% of their time coding. The other 79% of time is spent on the rest of the software development process. But moreover, developers aren't alone in the SDLC. Creating more code in less amount of time is great, but this also leads to needing more code reviews and documentation, more security and compliance tasks, and increased need for collaboration and communication around all of these changes. The bottom line is that people have been thinking about AI for software development the wrong way, with an exaggerated focus on building tools to help with isolated tasks such as code creation. To truly empower development teams across the SDLC, we need a comprehensive AI-powered DevSecOps platform that is deeply integrated into the entire development lifecycle and workflow, and that helps all the personas in your organization. From planning to development, your teams can leverage AI to be more productive, enabling a value stream-driven mindset, a mindset that is all about going from customer need to customer value with the fastest cycle time possible. AI code generation is cool and all, but it can introduce bloat and vulnerabilities. Quality and security are critical considerations when implementing AI and should not be sacrificed in the pursuit of efficiency gains. AI assistance goes way beyond code generation. It can help your team understand epics and issues faster, understand how your application works, write better code, write better and more standardized code, facilitate code reviewing and QA activities, increase test coverage, avoid and address security issues, and learn how to leverage all of GitLab's other features. Again, Duo helps with the whole software development lifecycle and empowers all the personas in your organization. Everything we just covered is all well and good, but now how do you use it? The first step will be to assign seats. Who should you assign seats to? Well, hopefully by now, or at least by the end of the presentation, you'll understand that you should assign seats to more than just developers. You'll want to consider including project managers, QA teams, security teams, solution architects, and any other persona that touches the SDLC in any way. What impact will those assignments have? Well, later in the presentation, we'll cover some of the features, and I'll highlight how they can be used by the different members of your organization. So, how do you assign seats in the first place? Okay, let's get into the meat of the topic, assigning seats and using the tools. The first thing worth noting is that GitLab Duo comes with access controls that ensure governance and that meet compliance needs. It allows administrators to control who has access to AI features, where those features will be used, for example, in which group, subgroup, or project, and even limit AI from interacting with extremely sensitive code or intellectual property. Duo Enterprise customers will have additional controls to configure self-hosted models and even disable specific Duo features, providing the most flexible controls to responsibly manage AI features. As long as you meet the prerequisites for seat assignment, i.e. that you have purchased the GitLab Duo Pro add-on or have the GitLab Duo trial or are on GitLab 16.8 and later in the case of self-managed and GitLab dedicated, you can assign seats to billable users to grant access to the add-on. The way you'll do this is by navigating into your group, selecting settings and GitLab Duo Pro, as we see in the graphic here, finding the users, then toggling the switch to assign the GitLab Duo Pro add-on. Note that to use code suggestions, which we'll discuss later, in any project or group, a user must be assigned a seat in at least one top-level group. It is also possible to assign seats in bulk. Similar to what we saw before, you start by navigating to your group and then selecting settings. In this case, after selecting usage quotas on the GitLab Duo Pro tab, you'll be able to select the users to assign or remove seats. You can use the checkboxes to the left of each user to select multiple users, or select the checkbox at the top of the table to select all. Then to assign the seats, you select assign seat and then confirm. Similarly, to remove users from seats, you'll select remove seats, then confirm. For self-managed instances, the first thing to understand is that you must enable network connectivity. In a nutshell, you'll have to allow outbound connections from the GitLab instance and allow inbound connections from clients to the GitLab instance. For more detailed documentation about this, you'll be able to follow the link we've provided here. Note that to assign seats or to enable GitLab Duo features in self-managed instances, you must be an administrator. Then you'll start by finding admin at the bottom of the left sidebar, then select GitLab Duo. Note that if you have a GitLab Duo, if the GitLab Duo menu item is not available, it may be that you need to synchronize your subscription after purchase. To do so, on the left sidebar, select a subscription, then in subscription details, to the right of last sync, select a synchronized subscription. As we've seen in the other cases, to assign GitLab Duo Pro to users, you simply have to turn on the toggle to the right of their usernames. The process of assigning seats in bulk for self-managed instances is a little different from what we saw earlier and involves using a rake task. The rake task for bulk user assignment is available in 16.9 and later, and is shown on the screen here. We provide a different script for use with version 16.8 of GitLab. Our documentation also provides more details regarding the use of brackets in the file path, the format and header your CSV files should have, and some troubleshooting regarding error messages you might encounter along the way. Now that you know how to enable users to take advantage of GitLab Duo, let's make sure you know how to use its features. We're going to go a little deeper into the Duo Pro features, specifically chat, code explanation, code suggestions, code refactorization, and test generation. We'll start with GitLab Duo chat, since it's so versatile, available in so many contexts, and can help all the different personas in your organization. In a nutshell, GitLab Duo chat can help project managers, decision makers, new developers, and others get up to speed on the status of projects. It can help developers explain, refactor, and generate tests for code blocks. It can help security teams understand and address security vulnerabilities, and it can answer any questions your team may have about how to leverage the full breadth of GitLab's capabilities without having to hunt and peck through our extensive documentation. The first thing to understand is that there are many ways to access GitLab Duo Chat. You can use it in the GitLab UI, the GitLab Web IDE, which is essentially VS Code in the cloud. You can access it directly in VS Code itself using the GitLab workflow extension for VS Code, or in JetBrains IDEs using the GitLab Duo plugin for JetBrains. In other words, we cover a lot of the bases, thereby allowing developers to stay in the flow of their editor of choice. Well, we're going to look a little more closely at all of these. I'd invite you to watch our overview and demo videos linked here, review our solid documentation, and read some of our blog posts, such as a recent one titled 10 Best Practices for Using AI Powered GitLab Duo Pro. GitLab Duo Chat. So anyway, let's get started with how to access and use GitLab Duo Chat in the UI. You can find GitLab Duo Chat via the button in the top right corner of the page. When you do so, a drawer will open up on the right side of your screen featuring the chat tool and any recent chats. To proceed, you enter your question in the chat input box and hit the enter key, or click on the send option. It may take a few seconds for the interactive AI chat to produce an answer. As is the case with LLMs in general, you'll often benefit from asking follow-up questions in a more conversational format. Along the way, I want to note that we leverage many different models behind the scenes to ensure you get the best responses possible. We use Anthropic's Claude 3.5 Sonnet, Anthropic's Claude 3 Haiku, and Vertex AI Search. Which one is used depends on the question being asked. For self-managed instances, the models also depend on your GitLab version. So to get the most benefit, do strive to use the latest GitLab version whenever possible. While the example shown on the screen here demonstrates an interaction about code, as mentioned earlier, and as we'll see on the next slide, this is just one of the possibilities. The ability to access Duo Chat via the UI like this really makes it accessible to your whole team. So when using GitLab Duo Chat, you can ask about epics, issues, code files. So it's not just about code. The animation here shows an example of asking it to write a release post based on an epic. Concretely, if you're actually viewing an epic or an issue or a code file, you can simply ask about this epic or this issue or this code file. Alternatively, if you're elsewhere in the interface, you can simply provide the URL when posing your question to the chatbot, such as, "Can you summarize the following epic?" Paste in the URL there. In the next slide, we'll see some additional examples of questions you can pose again. You may want to ask follow-up questions to improve the answers. That's kind of always true on these things. So, and then another thing I want to point out is when you want to ask a new question unrelated to the previous conversation, you might receive better answers if you clear the context by typing /reset or /clear and selecting send. This will provide the bot with a clean slate and avoid it confounding your different questions together. Note that only the last 50 messages are retained in the chat history, and the chat history expires 3 days after last use. So just to drive home the point that Duo Chat is a versatile tool for your whole team, here are a few examples of questions you might want to ask. A project manager might want to ask it to summarize an epic or all the comments related to the epic. A security professional may want to ask how to create a template for security scanning. A developer can ask for help on how to fix a bug. The documentation team could ask the chatbot to generate documentation pages. A developer relations or marketing team could ask for help in generating blogs or how-to posts, etc. It just goes on, really. As mentioned earlier, you can also use GitLab Duo Chat in the IDE, whether that's via my personal favorite, which is via GitLab's web IDE, which is essentially, again, like VS Code in the cloud, or directly in VS Code or JetBrains IDEs, as I mentioned earlier. GitLab Duo Chat has, note that it has access to the coding context, general programming and coding knowledge, as well as all of GitLab's extensive documentation. Similar to what we saw earlier, you can ask about epics, issues, open files, or select, in this case, selected lines in the editor. We could have done that before too. You can ask about epics or issues in the IDE by asking your question and providing the URL, like we saw before. You can also select specific code blocks you want to ask about and ask your question about like this code or this file. In addition to the opportunities to engage in general QA via the chat input, text input that was just mentioned, developers can also select code, right-click on it, and choose from a number of common actions that we make available. Note that you can also use / commands, and these are all quite similar. So /explain, refactor, fix, tests, which will apply to the code you selected. This can be useful for new team members who can use the explain action to get up to speed on a code base they may not be familiar with, and for more seasoned developers wanting to refactor their code, increase test coverage, or add inline documentation, which is always a good thing. In order to access Duo Chat via GitLab's web IDE, you need to use the GitLab UI to navigate to a project or a file in your project, then select edit in the web IDE option. Once in the IDE, I mean, we see a couple screenshots here on the left, depending on whether you're going from a project or a specific file. And then once in the IDE, you can access the chat features using one of the following methods, either by selecting the GitLab Duo Chat in the left sidebar that we see in the bottom of the top left screenshot, top right, sorry, screenshot here. By selecting some code and right-clicking on it and selecting a GitLab Duo Chat option followed by one of the proposed actions, which we see in the bottom right screenshot, or by using the keyboard shortcuts Alt D on Windows and Linux, or Option D on Mac. In the message box, you'll enter your question and press enter and send. It's just like what we've seen already. Again, if you have selected code in the editor, I guess I should mention, or want to mention, that this selection is sent along with your question to the AI so that you can ask questions about it, such as, could you simplify this code? Looking at some of this functionality in a little bit more detail, let's start out with code explanation of functionality. Which is, as the name suggests, will explain the functionality of the selected code block. This enables basically developers to quickly understand code and can help up-level developers through continuous learning. So it's great for both new and seasoned developers, as well as anybody else who just wants to understand what the recent change was that was brought to the code base. Here are some examples of how you can add additional instructions to be considered. So the basic command was /explain, but then you can add these other things like explain the performance, explain focus on the algorithm, et cetera, et cetera. Now that you understand now that you have code that is already there, you're ready to dig in and make it better. Which brings us to code suggestions, the functionality that most people have already heard of. Code suggestions lets you stay in the flow by predictively completing code blocks, defining function logic, generating tests, proposing common code like regex patterns, all in the same environment you already code in. It's available in 20 officially supported languages, which have a high quality bar. We optionally allow developers to configure Duo to offer over 80 unofficially supported coding languages, which do not have defined quality bars, and so results may vary. As we update our models, we're continuously expanding language support. So more precisely, code completion suggests completion to the line you are typing, and is used in most situations to quickly complete like one or a few lines of code. Code generation, on the other hand, generates code based on a natural language code comment block. So you start by writing a comment, outlining what you'd like that section of code to accomplish, or you enter an empty function or method, and then press enter to generate code based on the context of your comment, as well as the rest of your code that the AI is aware of. Note that code generation requests take longer than code completion requests, but provide more accurate responses because they use a larger language model. Additional context is sent in the request, for example, the libraries used by the project. And your instructions are passed to the LLM. To get the best results from code generation, please be as specific as possible while remaining concise. State the outcome you want to generate, for example, a function, and provide details on what you want to achieve. Add additional information like the framework or library you want to use. And add a space or a new line after each comment. This space tells the code generator that you have completed your instructions and are ready to get, get some feedback, some suggestions. So while we're on the topic of code suggestions, I'd like to take a moment to mention repository X-ray, which enhances GitLab Duo code suggestions by providing additional context to improve the accuracy and relevance of code recommendations. So repository X-ray gives the code assistant more insight into the project's code base and dependencies to generate better code suggestions. And it does this by analyzing key project configuration files, such as the gemfile.lock, package.json, and go.mod to build additional context. By understanding the frameworks, libraries, and other dependencies in use, repository X-ray helps the code assistant tailor suggestions to match the coding patterns, styles, and technologies used in the project. This results in code recommendations that integrate more seamlessly and follow best practices for that stack. In terms of prerequisites, you must have access to GitLab Duo code suggestions in the project, and a GitLab runner must be set up and enabled for the project. You enable it by adding a job definition, such as the one we see here, to the project's GitLab CI.YAML file. After the initial X-ray job completes, and uploads the repository analysis reports, no further action is required. The repository X-ray automatically enriches all code generation requests from that point forward. The X-ray data for your project updates each time a CI/CD pipeline containing the X-ray job is run. To learn more about pipeline configuration triggers, please refer to the documentation link provided here. As this slide states, code refactorization supports developers in improving existing code quality. You can ask GitLab Duo to use the code task /refactor to refactor the selected code into a function. You might need to refine the prompt to get better results by using /refactor into the public class to create a proposal for a code that can be accessed from a test project later, for example. You can also use the refactor code task to ask chat how to execute tests in the GitLab CI YAML file. By the way, just a little note, our DevRel team, developer relations team, has hosted many coffee chat challenges that you may be interested to participate in. It has hosted and will continue to host challenges that you may be interested to review or participate in the future. I suggested earlier, it's important when implementing AI to ensure that it is not breaking things or negatively affecting functionality. Just to be clear, AI isn't perfect. It can introduce, bloat. It can introduce vulnerabilities. So the best way to accomplish this is to have good test coverage in your code. As you may already know, writing tests doesn't tend to get prioritized as much as it should. So making this easier could go a long way to changing the dynamic here. And that's exactly what Duo can do for you. Again, you can access it via the chat by right-clicking or via the command prompt and the /test/ command. Once you're ready to submit your code, you can leverage yet another AI-assisted feature we provide called Suggested Reviewers, which helps you find the best person to review your code changes. I won't go into more details about this now, except to say that this should help identify reviewers who have contextual knowledge about the changes in the merge request and should accelerate code reviews by ensuring the right people are reviewing your code. Finally, as described earlier, we allow users of VS Code and JetBrains to use the GitLab Duo chat directly in their IDE of choice. So to access Duo chat directly in VS Code, you'll need to use the GitLab workflow extension for VS Code. Once you have installed and configured that extension, you can open a file, which doesn't even need to be in a Git repository, by the way, and then use the same techniques we saw earlier, i.e. by selecting GitLab Duo Chat in the left sidebar, or by right-clicking and selecting GitLab Duo Chat, or using the keyboard shortcut and then open up the chat bot and enter your question. The process is the same for the JetBrains IDEs, except that you'll use the GitLab Duo plugin available in the marketplace. Okay, so we've covered chat, seen how it can be useful to a wide range of people and for a wide variety of tasks, but there's more, a lot more, both in terms of additional AI features you may want to evaluate and in terms of documentation and further learning resources. Before I go on, I'd like to ask that you take a moment to answer a couple questions to help us gauge this content and evaluate how we can better address your needs. And so I'm going to open up a poll, and thanks in advance for your feedback and input here. It really helps us a lot. So we have a number of additional resources that we recommend. First, we have a ton of documentation, best practices, blogs, and demos for you to discover. Remember, we'll be sending you this presentation and recording, as well as additional resources in a follow-up email. We also have a number of self-paced learning and certification offerings, from the free self-service courses to paid private training and engaging with a member of the customer success team one-on-one. If you have a GitLab Premium or Ultimate subscription and want to see if your account qualifies for a customer success engagement, please feel free to send us a chat message with your company email address, and we'll reach out to you after today's call if you are eligible. Another tool not mentioned here is priority support. If you are a GitLab Premium or Ultimate customer, our support engineers can help you troubleshoot issues when using our planning tools in GitLab, or suggest potential GitLab capabilities that match your use cases, and even help advocate for you if there's a feature we don't yet support. Please refer to our scope of support there. And if you don't know who your salesperson, sales contact is, you can contact support and they can point you in the right direction. We also have monthly webinars and labs covering all the core topics you need to get up and running. The labs, even as I hinted at earlier, the labs even include short-lived, fully featured personal environments that you can use to try out all the functionality we've talked about and more, as well as a list of features we haven't even covered yet. For your, I would just say that for your organization as a whole, if you want a trial for your whole organization, we'd recommend, highly encourage you to reach out to our request a trial. All right, so while Duo Enterprise features are not included in the basic Duo Pro offering, which this session was mostly targeted around they're definitely worth knowing about. So GitLab Duo Enterprise is built for companies looking to decrease cycle times and ship faster, ship better, more secure software faster. I've highlighted here some of the enterprise features in yellow, the additional features. You'll be able to see real-time improvements in cycle times and deployment frequencies, making it easy to evaluate your ROI in actual numbers. I don't wear a sales hat, but we'll go ahead and mention that we have some fairly attractive introductory pricing for Duo Enterprise that's available for until January. Some of the key capabilities of Duo Enterprise are shown here. I just want to highlight some of these things. So the new AI Impact Dashboard allows you to track the effectiveness of AI and see real-time improvements in cycle times and deployment frequencies, making it easy to evaluate your ROI in actual numbers. The root cause analysis is really a game changer. And I mean, as somebody who's been at GitLab for 3 years, I definitely can attest to how interesting and useful this feature is. The feature analyzes your CI/CD jobs and can help determine the root cause for job failures and suggest fixes, allowing developers to save time, cognitive energy, and stay focused on critical tasks. The vulnerability explanation and resolution is also quite amazing and a highly differentiating feature. When vulnerabilities are found, our AI will help you understand the nature of the issue and actively help you remediate them to fortify your software. Finally, our AI-assisted summarization and templating tools help streamline communication within and between your teams in your organization, whether that's related to merge commit message generation, or a merge request summary, or a code review summary, or issue description generation. Again, helping your entire team and not just developers. And Duo Enterprise is an add-on that is constantly being improved on. We are adding 2 new capabilities later this year: self-hosted model deployment and model personalization. By opting for self-hosted model deployment, you can guarantee that your data remains within the secure confines of your organization, significantly lowering the risk of security breaches and ensuring adherence to data protection laws. Model personalization in GitLab Duo Enterprise will allow you to leverage the full potential of AI in a way that aligns closely with your strategic goals, operational needs, and customer expectations. And it doesn't stop there. We want to make AI even more powerful within DevSecOps. We want to move away from AI where you must click on a button or ask a question to being a proactive partner helping you ship secure code even faster. We recently shared GitLab Duo Workflow, which is an exciting evolution of AI within the SDLC. Imagine if GitLab Duo could be your partner, working in the background on your behalf, prompting teams when production issues are about to happen, helping to resolve vulnerabilities automatically, helping ensure your applications and services are optimized, and building remote development environments so onboarding happens in minutes, not weeks or months, and so much more. The team has been working on this for some time, and we are excited to bring this to you in the coming months. Please stay tuned for updates as GitLab Duo Workflow becomes available to all of our customers. And that's it. Thanks for joining us today and for your participation in the Q&A. Please keep an eye out for the follow-up email that will contain this deck and a recording of this webinar and a host of other useful resources. All right. Thanks a lot and take care.